What happens when one of the fashion industry's most celebrated figures publicly takes aim at a global icon? The answer became clear when a renowned female designer, known for her cutting-edge creations and fiery personality, openly insulted Melania Trump in a move that left both fans and critics stunned. The designer, celebrated for her revolutionary vision and high-profile clientele, had built a reputation for speaking her mind without hesitation. Her boldness, both in her work and her words, was part of her allure. But during a high-profile fashion summit, her outspoken nature took a controversial turn. When asked during an on-stage interview about whether she would ever collaborate with Melania Trump, the designer smirked and delivered a shocking remark. "I wouldn't dream of it. My designs are meant for women who inspire progress, not symbols of regression." The audience froze, unsure how to react. Some broke into nervous laughter. Others looked visibly uncomfortable. The comment was a direct, cutting jab at Melania and, by extension, her role as a public figure. The designer didn't stop there, elaborating that she believed Melania's image was antithetical to the ideals of creativity and freedom she sought to embody through her work. The backlash was swift and intense. Within hours, clips of the interview were circulating online, racking up millions of views. Social media became a battleground, with users fiercely debating whether the designer's comments were an act of courage or an unprovoked attack. Prominent voices from fashion, politics, and media weighed in, turning the moment into a cultural flashpoint. News outlets covered the incident from every angle, framing it as a clash of two powerhouses, a defiant voice from the world of haute couture versus a first lady with a legacy tied to grace and elegance. While some hailed the designer as a hero, others criticized her for being needlessly personal and unprofessional. The controversy quickly spilled over into her professional life, with some fans and collaborators questioning whether her remarks crossed an ethical line. Amid the growing uproar, the designer offered no apologies, standing by her comments and fueling even more debate. The stage was now set for Melania's response, and the world was watching. Melania Trump has always been more than a public figure. She's a study in contrasts. Long before she became First Lady of the United States, she had already established herself as a figure of quiet sophistication and resilience. From her roots in Slovenia to the global spotlight, Melania's journey has been a testament to ambition, elegance, and an enduring commitment to her values. Born Melania Novs in a small town, her early life was defined by discipline and a determination to rise above her circumstances. Her natural beauty and poise propelled her into the world of modeling at the age of 16. By her early 20s, she was working with top photographers and designers, gracing the pages of prestigious magazines. Her career was not just about aesthetics. It reflected her ability to adapt and excel in a fiercely competitive environment. When she married Donald Trump in 2005, Melania transitioned seamlessly from the world of high fashion to the demands of public life. As the wife of a prominent businessman and, later, the President of the United States, she carried herself with a grace that set her apart. Her fashion choices, often understated yet striking, became a hallmark of her identity. From structured jackets to flowing gowns, Melania's style was a language of its own, speaking volumes about her poise and confidence. During her tenure as First Lady, Melania championed several causes, most notably her Be Best initiative, aimed at promoting children's well-being and combating cyberbullying. While her reserved demeanor occasionally drew criticism, it also added an air of mystery that intrigued the public. She rarely addressed controversies directly, choosing instead to let her actions speak for themselves. What stood out most about Melania was her ability to remain composed under scrutiny. Whether facing relentless media speculation or addressing high-stakes global audiences, she exuded a calm, self-assured presence. Her unwavering composure became a defining characteristic, one that contrasted sharply with the chaos often surrounding her. In the face of the designer's public insult, many speculated about how Melania would respond. Would she issue a direct statement or maintain her trademark silence? Either way, one thing was certain: Melania Trump knew how to handle pressure, and she had proven time and again that her silence could be just as powerful as her words. The designer's comments about Melania Trump sparked a firestorm unlike anything the fashion world had seen before. Within hours of the interview's release, social media platforms were ablaze with reactions. Hashtags trending as supporters and critics alike debated the explosive statement. For some, the designer's words were a bold act of defiance. Fans praised her for taking a stand and calling out what they perceived as a misalignment between her values and Melania's public image. These supporters flooded comment sections with applause emojis and declarations of solidarity, viewing the remark as a courageous critique of power and privilege. But for others, the insult went too far. Critics accused the designer of unprofessionalism, questioning the ethics of making personal attacks in a public forum. High-profile figures in both fashion and politics weighed in, with some defending Melania as a woman who had always carried herself with grace. Even longtime clients of the designer expressed discomfort, with rumors swirling of canceled orders and strained partnerships. Mainstream media seized the moment, dedicating column inches and primetime segments to dissecting the controversy. Editorials explored the intersection of politics and fashion, debating whether designers should wield their platforms for activism or remain neutral. Some commentators saw the incident as emblematic of a growing divide in the industry, where personal beliefs increasingly influence professional decisions. The designer, however, appeared unfazed. In a series of cryptic social media posts, she hinted at her refusal to back down, sharing phrases like, "Art isn't safe," and "standing by my principles." Instead of diffusing the situation, these remarks only added fuel to the fire. Public opinion grew more polarized, with the designer's boldness alienating some of her most loyal supporters. Meanwhile, Melania's name was once again dominating headlines, not for something she had said or done, but for a controversy she had been thrust into without any provocation. As the tension built, all eyes turned toward the First Lady, awaiting her response. As the fallout from the designer's remarks continued to escalate, Melania Trump remained notably silent. Days passed, then weeks, with no statement from her team, no interviews addressing the controversy, and no comments on social media. Her silence, far from diminishing interest, only added to the intrigue. The media buzzed with speculation. Some outlets framed her quietude as a calculated move, a display of restraint that contrasted sharply with the designer's fiery rhetoric. Others interpreted it as indifference, questioning whether she would ever acknowledge the insult. But for those familiar with Melania, her lack of response was entirely in character. Over the years, she had mastered the art of letting silence speak louder than words. In the absence of a direct rebuttal, the public turned to her past actions for clues. Fashion critics revisited her most iconic moments. The tailored white jumpsuit she wore to a United Nations speech, symbolizing empowerment. The powder blue coat at her husband's inauguration, evoking Jackie Kennedy's timeless elegance. These choices, they argued, demonstrated Melania's ability to convey messages subtly but powerfully. Commentators analyzed her reputation for resilience under scrutiny. As First Lady, she had faced relentless criticism, yet rarely lashed out publicly. Her quiet demeanor often left critics perplexed and admirers impressed, viewing her as a woman who prioritized dignity over drama. Behind the scenes, whispers circulated about how Melania might respond, not with words, but with action. Would she appear at a high-profile event wearing a rival designer's creation? Would she champion a cause close to her heart, subtly underscoring her grace and intellect? The speculation only heightened the anticipation. Even as the controversy continued to dominate headlines, Melania's silence became the focal point of the narrative. Some called it strategic brilliance, a refusal to engage in the designer's theatrics. Others saw it as a missed opportunity to defend herself. But one thing was certain: her silence was as commanding as any statement she could have made. As the world waited, the stage was set for a moment that would shift the narrative entirely. Melania's response, whenever and however it came, was bound to leave an indelible mark. The fallout from the designer's incendiary remarks began to take a toll almost immediately. What started as a bold declaration quickly snowballed into a PR nightmare. Within days, the designer's brand became the subject of intense scrutiny, with her words reverberating far beyond the fashion world. Prominent figures began taking sides. Some high-profile celebrities who had previously supported the designer publicly distanced themselves, releasing statements that emphasized the importance of professionalism and mutual respect. Fashion should unite, not divide, one A-list actress remarked in an interview, signaling a break from the designer. Another high-profile client subtly shifted allegiance by appearing at a major red carpet event wearing a competitor's gown, a silent but unmistakable statement. Social media platforms remained a battleground. While some fans rallied behind the designer's unapologetic stance, others condemned her for allowing personal opinions to cloud her professional judgment. Posts critiquing her behavior went viral, with hashtags calling for accountability trending across platforms. Memes and parodies of her comments circulated widely, turning her once-respected name into a lightning rod for controversy. Behind closed doors, the situation grew even more precarious. Reports emerged of retailers reconsidering their partnerships with the designer's brand, concerned about the backlash affecting sales. A major department store quietly removed her latest collection from its featured displays. In the world of high fashion, where reputation is everything, even whispers of controversy could have devastating consequences. The designer attempted to salvage her image with carefully worded statements. "I stand by my values and my right to express them," she wrote in an Instagram post, paired with a striking photo of one of her designs. However, critics found the response lacking in remorse, accusing her of doubling down rather than acknowledging the hurt her words had caused. As the weeks went on, the designer's once bright star began to dim. Prominent fashion critics questioned whether her career could fully recover. In an industry built on relationships, this kind of polarizing moment can leave lasting scars, one expert noted in a panel discussion. It became clear that the designer's boldness had come at a steep cost, and her brand was struggling to withstand the heat. Amid the turmoil, Melania Trump finally broke her silence, but in a way only she could. Instead of a fiery rebuttal or direct confrontation, she made a move so subtle yet powerful that it instantly shifted the narrative. The moment came during a prestigious gala event, attended by the who's who of politics, fashion, and media. Melania arrived in a striking gown by a designer widely regarded as the original rival to the one who had insulted her. The dress, a masterpiece of craftsmanship and elegance, was an unmissable nod to her ability to choose her allies carefully. The designer, a longtime champion of inclusivity and artistry, had previously praised Melania's poise, making the collaboration a statement in itself. As photographers scrambled to capture her entrance, Melania carried herself with the same grace and confidence that had defined her public persona. The event's theme, centered around creativity and resilience, seemed tailor-made for her quiet but impactful response. Without uttering a single word, she had aligned herself with a narrative of strength and sophistication, leaving her critics scrambling to decode the layers of her statement. Later that evening, during a brief speech, Melania addressed the importance of fostering unity and respect. "Fashion is more than what we wear. It's a reflection of who we are and how we treat others," she said, her words resonating with a tone of diplomacy and poise. While she never directly referenced the controversy, her message was clear: grace and class will always outshine negativity. The media response was immediate and overwhelming. Headlines praised Melania for her masterclass in diplomacy, and social media erupted with admiration for her ability to turn the situation to her advantage. Critics of the original designer found renewed energy, pointing to Melania's response as an example of how to rise above conflict without losing integrity. Even those who had been skeptical of Melania couldn't help but acknowledge the effectiveness of her approach. "She's shown us that silence doesn't mean passivity, and elegance can be its own form of strength," one commentator wrote. The moment became a defining chapter in her legacy, proving that Melania Trump could navigate controversy with a deft touch that left everyone awestruck. In the days that followed, The designer's comments became a footnote in a story that now belonged entirely to Melania. Her subtle power move had reclaimed the spotlight, leaving no doubt about who had emerged victorious. As Melania Trump's subtle response reverberated through the media, the global reaction was nothing short of extraordinary. While her deliberate silence and eventual power move were praised in some circles, they sparked intense debates in others. Across news outlets, social media, and fashion forums, commentators dissected the incident with fervor, turning the feud into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. On one hand, Melania's supporters applauded her restraint and elegance. Influential columnists and fashion critics hailed her as an exemplar of grace, noting that her response, or lack thereof, demonstrated a level of dignity often missing in high-profile disputes. Hashtags like #GraceUnderFire and #MelaniaMoves trended for days, with users celebrating her ability to rise above the fray. "This is how you handle controversy," one prominent journalist tweeted. "No insults, no drama, just pure class." Such sentiments echoed across platforms, with fans praising Melania for turning the focus back onto her legacy of sophistication and understated power. However, not everyone was convinced. Critics argued that Melania's silence only perpetuated the idea that she was aloof and unapproachable. Some claimed that her lack of a direct rebuttal allowed the designer's narrative to linger unchallenged, potentially undermining her image as a proactive public figure. Silence isn't always golden, one commentator noted during a heated television debate. Sometimes it reads as complicity. Meanwhile, the designer's camp experienced a very different fallout. Among her peers in the fashion industry, opinions remained deeply divided. A few respected designers spoke out in her defense, framing her comments as a legitimate critique of power dynamics and cultural values. Yet, even these allies cautioned against the risks of personal attacks. "The industry thrives on boldness," said one veteran designer during a panel discussion. "But boldness without tact is a dangerous game." As the feud dominated conversations worldwide, it began to take on a life of its own, inspiring think pieces, memes, and even a satirical sketch on a late-night talk show. The episode had transcended fashion, becoming a larger commentary on public discourse, power, and the ever-blurring lines between personal values and professional responsibilities. For Melania and the designer, the feud's global resonance underscored just how high the stakes had become. Just when the world thought the saga had run its course, an unexpected development reignited the conversation. A few weeks after the controversy peaked, Melania Trump announced a collaboration with a rising star in the fashion industry, a young, up-and-coming designer known for championing diversity and ethical fashion practices. The collaboration, unveiled during a glamorous press event in New York City, took the world by surprise. Melania, clad in a stunning bespoke creation by the designer, delivered a brief but impactful statement. "Fashion has the power to inspire and unite," she said, her tone calm and measured. "Today, I'm proud to support a new generation of creativity that values inclusivity and innovation." The young designer, visibly humbled by the moment, spoke about the importance of using fashion as a force for good. "This collaboration isn't just about clothing," she said. "It's about building bridges and finding common ground, even in challenging times." The announcement sent shockwaves through the fashion world. Many viewed it as a masterstroke by Melania, a way to reclaim the narrative while shining a spotlight on a positive and forward-thinking initiative. The move also contrasted starkly with the original designer's controversial remarks, framing Melania as a champion of unity rather than division. Public reaction was overwhelmingly positive. Social media buzzed with admiration for Melania's decision to elevate an emerging talent rather than engage in a war of words. Even some of her critics begrudgingly acknowledged the brilliance of the move. "Say what you will about Melania," one prominent commentator tweeted, "but she knows how to turn a moment into a movement." As for the original designer, the announcement served as yet another blow. Comparisons between her and the young designer dominated headlines, with many praising the latter's humility and forward-thinking ethos. For the seasoned designer, it became increasingly clear that her words had not only alienated key allies, but also opened the door for others to rise in her place. In the end, the collaboration signaled a turning point. By focusing on positivity and progress, Melania had managed to shift the conversation entirely, leaving the controversy behind and setting a new standard for handling public disputes with grace and ingenuity. As the controversy surrounding her remarks reached a boiling point, the designer was left with no choice but to address the public. What had started as a bold, off-the-cuff statement had spiraled into a defining moment of her career, and one she could no longer ignore. In an exclusive interview with a major fashion publication, the designer broke her silence. Her tone was measured but firm, oscillating between defensiveness and an attempt at reconciliation. "I've always spoken my mind, and I've never shied away from standing up for what I believe in," she began, addressing the backlash head-on. "However, I never intended for my words to cause personal harm or overshadow the message I was trying to convey." The designer framed her remarks as part of a broader critique of power dynamics in the fashion industry and society. She stopped short of issuing a full apology, choosing instead to express regret for how her words had been interpreted. "I respect Melania Trump as a person, and I understand the impact of my comments. I could have approached the conversation with more nuance." The response drew mixed reactions. While some viewed it as a genuine attempt to repair the damage, others saw it as an insincere effort to save face. Social media was once again divided, with critics pointing out that the statement lacked accountability and failed to directly address the harm caused. Prominent figures in the industry weighed in, with one veteran designer remarking, "There's a fine line between bravery and recklessness. In this case, she might have crossed it." The fallout from the incident left a lasting mark on the designer's career. While her core fanbase remained loyal, her brand's broader appeal seemed to wane. Reports of declining sales trickled in, and several major retailers hesitated to renew their partnerships. Industry insiders speculated that the controversy had eroded the trust and goodwill that had taken years to build. However, there were signs of resilience. A few months later, the designer announced a new collection with an emphasis on inclusivity and collaboration. While some hailed it as a step toward redemption, others questioned whether it was an attempt to divert attention from the lingering fallout. The feud became a cautionary tale in the fashion world, a stark reminder of how words, however well-intentioned, can have far-reaching consequences. The designer's future remained uncertain, but her reputation had undoubtedly been reshaped by the events. As the dust settled, the controversy left an indelible mark on both the fashion industry and the public discourse surrounding it. What began as an offhand comment had evolved into a cultural moment, sparking conversations about the role of fashion as a platform for expression and the responsibilities that come with it. Melania Trump emerged from the ordeal as a symbol of grace under fire. Her understated yet strategic response highlighted her ability to navigate adversity with poise, earning her widespread admiration. She had not only reclaimed the narrative, but also solidified her image as a figure of quiet strength and dignity. For many, Melania's handling of the situation became a blueprint for rising above conflict without sacrificing one's integrity. The designer's journey, however, served as a complex counterpoint. Her initial remarks and subsequent response underscored the risks of speaking out without considering the broader implications. While she retained a niche following, her place in the industry was no longer as secure as it once had been. The feud became a defining moment in her career, a reminder of how quickly public opinion can shift in a world driven by perception. Industry experts reflected on the broader lessons of the controversy. This wasn't just about two individuals. It was a collision of fashion, politics, and culture, one commentator observed. It showed us how interconnected these worlds are and how important it is to approach such intersections with care. For the audience, the episode offered a powerful takeaway about handling adversity with dignity and style. Melania's ability to rise above the fray demonstrated the value of composure and the strength of actions over words. The designer's experience, meanwhile, highlighted the importance of accountability and the delicate balance between artistic expression and professional responsibility. In the end, the incident served as a reminder of the power of grace, resilience, and self-awareness. Whether through silence, strategic action, or meaningful reflection, navigating challenges with integrity remains a timeless lesson, one that transcends industries, borders, and moments in time. Want to hear more of this? Then click on the video on the right-hand side, which is even more insane.